So guys, we're here with Jace from AV Assist. We get a lot of questions about what do we need, what drone license do we need to either operate on my own property or a commercial base. So we thought we'd ask someone professional. I guess you call yourself professional.
I work for a professional company.
You work for a professional company. That's a good background. So Jace, how long have you been doing sort of the licensing side of things? Or
So I've been with AV Assist now for 4 years.
Yep.
And we do the licensing for any of the medium multi-rotor drones. AV Assist has been around quite a bit longer than that.
Yeah.
I've just been with them for 4 years.
Yeah, so AV Assist are quite, would you say the largest company in Australia that does the training, or?
I'm not going to say the largest, I don't know, but let's go with one of the largest.
One of the largest.
Certainly one of the largest medium multi-rotor agricultural companies.
AV Assist, they have operators all around Australia, not operators, sorry, trainers and assessors all around Australia?
Yeah, we've got trainers. We've got offices in Brisbane, Newcastle, Sydney, Melbourne and Perth.
Yep.
But we have a constant presence also in Canberra and Adelaide.
Yeah.
So we can go anywhere.
So we've actually been doing some training here today. That's why we've got Jace here at the moment. So the reason why we use AV Assist, they're just very easy to deal with and they know what they're talking about too. So what we'll go in through now is just a few questions so you guys know what is involved in one. You know, I was talking to someone the other day and I think less than 5% of our customers actually end up getting their license. So we want to more educate people that yes, you do need a license to operate legally and how to go about it. So let's start with a few questions. We'll start with if I'm a producer or if I'm a farmer myself, what would I need off the bat, I guess?
So if you're a farmer yourself, you own your own drone and you just want to operate your drone on your property.
That's right.
The first thing you'd need would be the remote pilot's license, so an REPL.
Yep.
That's the standard license that anyone operating a small drone up to 25 kilos commercially in Australia needs.
And how long does that normally take to obtain?
So it's a 5-day course.
Yep.
You sit down with us and we'll do 3 days theory, 2 days of theory on how to be safe.
Yep.
Then we'll do 2 days in the field teaching you how to operate the aircraft.
Yep.
And then another day back in the office doing exams and paperwork.
Yeah, so you can get all that REPL done in a week pretty much.
Knock it over in 5 days.
Yeah, quite easy. So that's under 25 kilos. And then obviously these drones are a lot bigger. So what else do you require for that?
So from there, you need to do a license onto your aircraft specific type. So if we've got our XAG Max here, 150 Max here behind us, you would need to go and you can get the aircraft, you can get someone like yourself to come and do the training with them.
Yep.
And before they're licensed, they can do 3 hours of flying around, getting comfortable with the aircraft. Then they get in touch with someone like myself and come to us, or we can come to you, work out a deal. And we do a license for you on the type, on the specific type.
So pretty much what we've done here today.
Literally what we did here today.
Yep. So yeah, we've had customers come from all over the place. They've just, done some flying with Jace and he's made sure they're safe, gone through different bits and pieces on how to set up the aircraft, make sure everything's safe, you can operate the aircraft manually and autonomously, and then, you just sign them off pretty much.
Yeah, we literally just show up here.
Yep.
And I say to you, here you are doing a job. Talk me through the process that you're going to follow. So you show me your pre-flight process.
Yeah.
You show me the safe setup of the aircraft. You show me you can physically fly it.
Yep.
Then we do a little bit of automation and maybe some reversions from that.
So I think I get this asked quite a lot. When you're doing your REPL, can you do the type endorsement at the same time? I don't think you can. Is that right?
You won't fit it in.
Yep.
If you show up on the Monday and you've never flown a drone, and you finish on the Friday with your REPL, you won't have the skill set enough, or you won't have the time in there to be safe to operate a 149 kilo aircraft.
So you could do it potentially another few weeks later or something like that.
And mate, that one varies on individual skills. Some guys have, they've been doing gaming all their life and they can just do it. Some are older folks like me and we just need a little bit of time.
Get a bit cautious with it. Literally, it's just the REPL, a type endorsement. Is there anything else really for your own property? Or
if you're going to operate your own aircraft on your own property, you can operate in what is called the excluded category.
Okay.
So all you need is that. It's a not-for-profit, so you can't go next door and spray the neighbour's property. You can only do your own. Other than that, you'll need your other statutory requirements, which might be the mix and carriage of chemicals.
Yeah,
and
like your chem certs and those sort of things.
And I don't give advice on those because it varies from state to state.
Every
Everyone's
state's
got a different idea.
Okay, so that's farmers like that. To be honest, probably 80% of our customers
They've
are
all got it
farmers.
anyway.
And they already have the chemical, rating, like those sort of licensing and those sort of things. So, so if you're operating on your own property, a farmer, it's just basically those two things. It's quite simple, I would say.
There's a process to it, but it's fairly straightforward.
It's not as complicated as what we'll go into next.
No.
So the next one is obviously contracting, or someone doing it for money, not on their own property, but they're doing it for a more of a commercial based sort of business. That's their business, or they're doing it on other people's property. So I guess from my understanding, and you can go more into this, so at the moment you need those basic two things.
You certainly need those two to start with.
Yep. So that's where you would start. Is that correct? You would just start.
Start would be knowing what aircraft you want to operate.
Yep.
So you have an idea of the specifics.
Yep.
Do your REPL.
Yep.
And then get your remote operator certificate and your license all happening at the same time.
Yeah, so a remote operator certificate is probably the main thing. That's the biggest, the most time consuming. Well, yeah, it's not so much, it doesn't take long to get, it's just the paperwork.
Yeah, that's the one that's going to cause you the most amount of angst.
Yeah, and you'll hear it, like a lot of people talk it as a ReOC. So that's what we're talking about. A remote operator certificate is a ReOC. Yeah. Do you want to go in a bit about the ReOC?
Yeah, look, the way I normally talk about a ReOC or a remote operating certificate, it is CASA, or the Civil Aviation Safety Authority's way of saying company X is safe and competent to operate a type of aircraft doing a type of mission.
Yep.
They've got procedures and plans in place. They've got all of the appropriate manuals in place. They've done their risk management, and they can just go out and do the job.
Yep.
So the way I look at it, if you look at Qantas, Qantas has an air operator certificate.
Yeah.
CASA has said, congratulations, Qantas, you can be an airline.
Yep.
Do that safely.
Yep.
And then Qantas employs pilots.
Yeah. Someone explained that to me once, like that sort of, like envision the ReOC as a airline, and then REPL is more your pilots.
Spot on. That's literally exactly what it is.
So you have your ReOC, that's your company's, all your paperwork and all that sort of things, and then your REPL is your pilots underneath that. So not every pilot needs to go and get a ReOC. It's just the business needs a ReOC, and then you have your pilots underneath that. Yeah. So how long would you say it would take to obtain a ReOC?
The $1 million question.
Depends on what CASA's doing.
Look, it depends on a lot of things. It depends on the complexity. And if it's just a simple, we want to operate ag drones and we're going to just do spraying.
Yep.
And we're going to do it all visual line of sight.
Yep.
It's not a very long and involved process.
Yep.
And we can, if you come to a company like AviAssist, we can write your manuals for you.
Yeah. So that's actually a good point, because I know when I first started, there was a few people around, but having someone, like, you look at all this paper and you're like, bloody hell, like, what the hell do I do with this? But companies like yourself, they can just do it all for you, like, and to be honest, I remember it wasn't much more expensive. Like, it is a bit more expensive.
Depends on how expensive your time is.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Like, it might take me, a few days to write this thing up, and it'll be wrong. Whereas, you can come to companies like these guys and they'll do it all for you. So,
spot on.
So your ReOC, there is a test at the end of your ReOC. Is that right?
Yep.
For your chief pilot, they do like a phone call with CASA. Is that still the case?
Yeah. So to get your ReOC approved by CASA, you need to do three or four things.
Yep.
First one is you need to have an operations manual.
Yep.
The operations manual says this is how we do business.
Yep.
This is what we're going to do, for want of a better word. You'll need to have an operations library.
Yep.
And your library's got how to fly the aircraft.
Yeah.
Got all the flight manuals in there.
Yep.
It's, how much wind can I handle in this aircraft?
Yep.
It's in the library.
Yep.
You'll then need to have a chief remote pilot and a maintenance controller. Now, they can be the same person.
Yep.
Maintenance controller is responsible for making sure the aircraft is serviceable.
Yep.
And the chief remote pilot is responsible for what the company does.
Yeah. So they're the top dog.
Yeah, they're the top dog, for want of a better word.
Yep.
You then submit a form to CASA that says, we want to be a company. Here's all of our ReOC. Here is our operations manual. Here is our operations library.
Yep.
CASA will go through that.
And you need to have, you need to have your REPL and a type endorsement on that aircraft first. Is that right? Or
I would be, because of the time that this can take,
Yep.
I would be submitting it while I'm doing the training. So, for example, if I was the guys that we licensed today, I would have had it to CASA before I had the license.
Yeah, okay, yep.
Knowing full well that they're not going to approve it till you've got the license.
Okay,
but,
yep, that makes sense. And then what was the third thing in part of the ReOC, sorry? So you had your operations, your library.
Manual, your library, and then you need your chief remote pilot and your maintenance controller.
Yeah, that's right, yep.
When you've submitted all of that to CASA, they will arrange with you a interview. Now, very, very rarely do they want to physically come and see you fly. Every now and then someone will get bored and they'll come to you. These days it's normally done either with CASA or with a proxy via a Zoom call.
So they do Zoom or phone calls?
Zoom
or Zoom?
Phone.
Yeah. And normally back when we did it like 8-9 years ago now.
Same time when I did mine.
They would set you up with a dummy Do they still do that? They say, right, I want to fly in this area at this time, and this is what we're doing, and you've got to set up a mission, and then they...
Spot on.
Yeah, they still do that?
They send you what we call a job pack.
Yep.
So a job pack will literally be, this is your job.
Yep.
And you've got to plan it, do the risk management associated with it, do the job safety assessment.
Yep.
And then they'll ask you questions, and they've got the big pile of questions that we all know that they're going to ask, which are the standard, how close to people can you get, etc.
Yep.
Then they'll ask you a pile of questions about that job.
Yep.
And the answers will all be based on your ops manual.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because they're taking things out of your writing, I guess, and making sure you know what you've written.
That's it.
Yeah.
So they're not going to ask you to do a job that your company can't do.
Yeah.
And then they're going to ask you based on your procedures.
Yep.
And this is one of the few things where the chief pilot interview, CASA's not there to fail you.
Yep.
In fact, they're there to get you compliant.
Yeah.
And if you're not up to scratch, or they're not going to say, Jace, you're a bad boy.
Yeah.
They'll help you get compliant, and they might say, hey, we'll give you a call back at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. And just ask you about that.
I think they did that with ours, actually. I think it's like they have to find something wrong as well, and they pick you up on something.
They will in your manual. They seem to want to find something. A lot of the ones we do now, because we've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them, we know exactly what CASA's looking for. So we sort of line up our square peg with their square hole.
Yeah, well, that's... I remember when we did ours, it was a lot, bits and pieces.
I did one, I think, 9 or 10 years ago with my original one. It was the same deal.
Yep.
They wanted to see me fly.
No, that's good. Another thing as well is a lot of our customers are upgrading to newer aircrafts, and it's like what we've done here today, and I guess you can explain a bit more about it. Once you go over those 25 kilo, once you get over that 25 kilo endorsement, it's aircraft specific. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah. And
unfortunately... Yeah.
as much as we all get annoyed at the fact, once the aircraft weighs more than 25 kilos, they put them into what CASA calls models.
Okay.
So the XAG 150 Pro and the 150 Max are different models. So therefore they require it, because they can be, and face it, we're talking about an aircraft, and that one in the lift configuration is significantly different.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So there's a different set of considerations. So it's a separate license.
So they go under, like, say for instance, the Max might be 142 kilos. The previous P100 might be 110 kilos. They might operate the same or very similar, but they're different licensing. Yeah.
And I would say talk to your dealer, and they'll give you advice on what needs to be licensed and what doesn't.
Definitely. Yeah, so I guess today was a really good example. We spread out over 2 days. You've come up to us. We've got a fair few of our customers here. I think we did 8 over the 2 days. Type endorsements, really. So watching them fly, watching them going through all the processes, and it's just good to be able to talk to someone like you, especially for a lot of these guys that are coming. They're scared of CASA, so I guess talking to a middleman is really good for them, as well. So getting that sort of knowledge.
It does take the big bad CASA guy out, and we do the independent licenses. We issue the license, so none of this is.
That's right.
You haven't got to talk to the CASA man.
Previously we had to get CASA here. They would have to watch us fly, but now having companies like yourself come and do this makes it much more streamlined and easier for everyone, because if everyone thinks, CASA's here, they act differently, and And it lets us see the guys how they do the job for real. Like, that wasn't a cam scenario. The jobs they were doing today was exactly how they do it tomorrow morning. Yeah, that's right. And it also expedites things, because I can now go back. I've got a bit of paperwork to do, but I can now issue that license by the end of the week. There's no waiting weeks and weeks and weeks for it. Like previously it was like, how busy is CASA this week? Are we going to get them this week, or is it going to be a month? Or so having companies like this make it so much more easier. Well, thank you very much, Jace, for coming out again.
Thanks for having me.
It's unreal having these guys here. I would we've worked with probably 4 or 5 different companies over the year, and I always not over the year. Always recommend these guys now, because they're just so easy to deal with, and they are everywhere as well. So AVIassist.com.au. People always ask me, how does that spell? So AVIassist on internet, any of those sort of places, or get in contact with us and we can push you on them. Thanks again. It was great having you here again today.
Good fun.
Thank you.